Wild. He had a 90.2 PFF grade in this one, 21.4% big time throw rate. It was second among Power 5 quarterbacks in week 2, and that was like just before he got injured. He got injured early in this one, AC joint or something sprained, so we'll see how long he's gone. And then Hudson Card comes in, and he's on one leg too. A lot of situations where multiple quarterbacks on one leg and struggling to survive in those early slots with Pitt in Texas. And we'll get into the Pitt one in a bit. But I don't know. I was extremely impressed. And I think a lot of the jokes with Texas over the last couple of years has just been like, the offense has always been there. Like, you have the Bijan Robinsons. You have the offensive talent who keeps getting drafted. Like, they have created offense after offense that works. It's never been an offensive issue, really. It's been like how soft that Texas defense is, where they can't stop Kansas, or they can't stop Texas Tech, or they can't stop teams they should stop with the talent that they have on that side of the ball. We've never seen a Texas defense like this. Like, Charlie Strong couldn't do this. You go up and down the list, Tom Harmon and his group, they couldn't do this. Steve Sarkisian, this staff has gotten the defense to make this jump. Like, there was nobody open for Alabama and Bryce Young all night. Alabama could not run the ball. They just gave up on running the ball against the Longhorns. This is a totally different Texas team than we have been accustomed to for a long time. So the jokes about, like, Texas is back, look, if this is the defense that they're going to be playing with for the foreseeable future and they have turned the corner on that front, we have to recalibrate how we see Texas and where this program's going, because we've seen the offense, and we knew the offense was going to be fun under Sarkisian. Now the defense is coming together. Now you see the path of where this all comes together, and Texas is legitimately on the right track back to college football playoff contention. What do you make of all that, Matt?
Yeah, multiple things from what you said. This could go back to the Gene Chizik, Will Muschamp days of Texas defense when they actually used to play some defense. But I was definitely impressed by Texas's defense in this one. But the first thing you said of the people that Quinn Ewers, if Quinn Ewers was healthy, they win this game, I'm raising my hand.
I knew you were.
They're winning this game by 2 touchdowns. They might blow out Alabama if Quinn Ewers is playing. Like, he only played the first quarter. So, yeah, they could have made halftime adjustments, but he still had a whole second quarter where he could have gone off. Like, I feel like this is, Alabama fans, I'm sure will tell you, a win is a win. Nick Saban will scold his fan base for, when I got here, we were just happy to win a game. Now it's not enough points. It's, I can see that already happening. And that's true to some extent, but we all understand college football and kind of why that is the standard that Alabama established, because they're just always so talented and they destroy people. So yeah, it is kind of a red flag when you're winning games by 1 touchdown, like they did all last year. Like, it wasn't the most dominant performance. And so this year, with the offensive line already being a question to start this year, like, I've seen nothing to make me think that's going to get better. Like, you can't take away the 81-yard touchdown, right? Like, it happened, but you can just take it out for calculation purposes. And without that run, they had 23 carries for 80 yards. Like, they just weren't really able to do anything on the ground, and there's just no playmakers on this defense. Like, we're used to seeing teams with 4 first-round receivers and 2 eventual first-round running backs all on the same roster. And this team, I don't think it has right now. Like, we could see an impact when they're fully healthy and the Louisville transfer is in there. But, like, Jermaine Burton, you really got nothing from him. So many drops from this receiving core, not creating separation. Like, there were so many times where it seemed like Bryce Young had time to throw, but nobody was open. And Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, is the only guy that when he had the ball in his hands, it's like that guy looks like an Alabama playmaker. Like, he looked like an elite player. Every other player on this offense, they're fine. Like, they just don't have any difference makers at receiver or tight end. So I don't see, like, obviously Bryce Young, he's one of the best players in college football, if not the best player in college football. So they still have him, and the quarterback is super important. But I think this is a siren going off if I'm an Alabama fan right now. Like, Texas is not going to be the best team they play, especially not a Texas without a quarterback for the last 3 quarters. Like, Texas with Quinn Ewers, like, I'm not saying like a whole Texas is back, but the way they looked in that first quarter, Texas with Quinn Ewers could be one of the best teams Alabama plays all season. Like, they look much improved, and I was so impressed by Quinn Ewers. But they basically played a team without a quarterback for the last 3 quarters, and outscored them 10-0 in the last 3 quarters, or no, it's 10-10 the last 3 quarters. So, yeah, I would be very worried if I was an Alabama fan right now.
The thing on the flip side, though, is the defense is really good. Will Anderson made some big plays late. I'm not worried about the
secondary, though.
Yeah.
The secondary was getting torched, and they were
Yeah.
supposed to have like 4 guys that were first or second team All SEC. Like, not putting anyone on blast, but Kool-Aid McKinstry, like, I feel like he's a name. He's a 5-star prospect, and his name's Kool-Aid, and so we voted him first team All SEC. Like, this guy is nowhere close to a first team All SEC corner. Like, I'm not even sure he's a good corner. Like, Texas, like, Xavier Worthy was absolutely exposing this secondary, and he's a star receiver. But there's other receivers that are that good. Like, there's a lot of other receivers that the team's best receiver is on that level that can have a legitimate deep threat. And unless Alabama was interfering, like, I don't feel like they were really guarding any Texas receivers. And I think that's why you saw early in the game they were getting away with a lot of pulling and tugging and everything. And then once they started to call it, it's like, well, yeah, they're doing it every time. Like, and so I was not impressed with Alabama's secondary. I think they could get thrown on a lot this year. Like, they might not face a lot of quarterbacks as good as Quinn Ewers, because he looked really good, but they're going to face some good quarterbacks this season.
Also, Isaiah Nayer, this is the kind of game where he would have feasted in the slot, who they lost just before the season, the prized transfer at Wyoming. He did not obviously play, and he's out for the year, but that would have been one to watch in this one. I will say, you mentioned the running back aspect of this, and Jahmyr Gibbs was Bryce Young's favorite target in the passing game. You're seeing this with your team. I think this is an interesting wrinkle that I jotted down to. This is something to monitor throughout the course of the season. The highest graded receiving back in college football to this point is Kenny McIntosh, and it's not even really close. But also in the top 10 is Jahmyr Gibbs. And Jahmyr Gibbs is lining up outside. Kenny McIntosh is probably going to be Stetson's favorite target, not named Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers. Like, it's going to be a little bit different because Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to get more opportunities than McIntosh. But I do think it's interesting that both these teams are going to utilize their running back in the passing game so much. And if you go up and around the SEC, not many other programs are doing that. Like, Tank Bigsby is more like he's the focal point of that Auburn offense, and he's having success, but it's running the football. It's not catching stuff out of the backfield all that much. So I am curious to see if that's a trend of more and more of the elite programs utilizing their backs more as receivers than they had in the past.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. And I think you see it in the NFL a lot. I think there's a lot of ways in recent history where the college game has kind of impacted the way the NFL game is being played. And I think that's an aspect that the pro game is affecting the college game. Like, if you have this dynamic playmaker in the backfield and you're not able to create running lanes for him, or you're getting predictable rundowns or something like that, like, just find a way to get him the ball, because he's a running back once he has the ball, and he can make people miss, and he can just, especially if you're out on the outside, like, he can make corners miss a lot better than he can make maybe some big linebackers miss too. So yeah, I've been really impressed with Kenny McIntosh, the way Georgia's been using him this year. He has like 35 yards rushing, I think, in the first 2 games, and like 180 receiving yards. So that is an interesting wrinkle, but yeah, and I think, like, as good as Jahmyr Gibbs looks, I feel like if a team only has one playmaker, like, I feel like you can shut him down. And so Jahmyr Gibbs, I feel like Texas was not ready for him to they were just passing it to him. And it felt like that was something that Texas wasn't prepared for. But moving forward, like, you got to put somebody on this guy because they want to throw it to him. So shout out to, like, how Hudson Card, he was dinged up in this one too, kept playing. So shout out to how the effort he gave, but once he came in the game, Texas was just a completely different team, and they did not threaten Alabama's defense really at all. So it's hard for me to hype up Alabama's offense or defense too much.